about that? Brady led the game-winning drive, finished with 379 yards, count them, 4 touchdowns, did throw 2 picks, but Chris Broussard, the best quarterback performance of week 1 was blank.
Well, Brady was spectacular, but I have to go with Kyler Murray. All right, look, and I'll admit, I started sleeping on Kyler. I was a big fan last season and really throughout his whole career, the beginning of his career. And then I fell off of him a little bit because of how last season ended. But as many people were saying, and I now agree, it was the shoulder. He was sensational in game 1. And I get it, they were playing a Titans defense that is horrific. However, he threw well from the pocket. He was comfortable there. He threw well on the move. And when the defenders got pressure, he was as elusive as Lamar Jackson. All right, his passes were terrific. The 2 touchdown passes to Christian Kirk, I wish we could show them. Outstanding, right on the money, thrown only where Kirk could catch them. The last one, a back shoulder throw where the defender had no chance of getting it. Kyler Murray, man, look, this dude is awesome, and he was the best quarterback last week.
Okay, Kyler was sensational. I'm not taking anything away from him. But unfortunately, my guy Patrick Mahomes has now entered the Beyonce territory of taken for granted, where it's like every year, it's like, who's the most beautiful woman in the world? It's like, oh, the same it's been for the last 15 years, but you give a new name because people are sick of saying the same. Every single number there is better than what Kyler did, and it was against a better opponent, and it was in a comeback victory, and he had the signature play of the weekend. Well, I'm sorry, he had 4 touchdowns. Kyler had 5. My apologies. Kyler did have the interception. Brady, on the other hand, definitely the best day of anyone who threw 2 picks. But Wilds, this is less about Mahomes versus Kyler.
You know, neither one was his fault. And this is more
about of course, no interceptions ever Tom Brady's fault. It's always someone else's fault. We know that. Those are the rules. Other quarterbacks throw picks. Tom Brady has picks happen to him where he just happens to be the one who released the football. But I don't want to argue about Brady or Kyler or Mahomes. Wilds, these analytics folks that I got in a street fight with during the NBA season, the infiltration of Week 1 NFL. This is what I had to deal with yesterday. Yesterday, I'm just scrolling through my Twitter feed, and I see somebody say, hey, you know, according to QBR, who was the best quarterback in Week 1? Teddy Bridgewater. I'm like, huh? So I reply, I'm like, you realize that's kind of an indictment of QBR? And the response was, no, let me explain what. Teddy Bridgewater was the best quarterback. Oh, and then Pro Football Focus. You know where they had Mahomes' performance ranked 7th, a touch ahead of Kirk Cousins, whose performance got them a fat, steaming L against the Bengals. And if that's not enough, my folks, my people who, Jenna, make that Bible every year that I read, Football Outsiders, they're like, hey, hot off the presses, Week 1 DVOA, top 12 teams in the league after Week 1. Included on that, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Carolina Panthers, the Houston Texans, not included in the top 12. The Kansas City Chiefs. Folks, sometimes you type in the numbers into your fancy little algorithm, you see what it spits out, and you're like, oh, my algorithm is stupid and broken. And if you say, hey, Patrick Mahomes was the 7th best quarterback this week, Teddy Bridgewater was the best, and the Chiefs are the 16th best team after 1 week, your algorithms suck. They're terrible. I'm Wilds, I'm this close to just becoming an eye test guy. I'm this close. They're going to push me.
You're an eye test guy.
They're going to push me off the edge.
You're an eye test guy.
I'm real close, buddy.
You're an eye test guy. No longer the analytics guy. You're the eye test guy. Broussard's the eye test guy. He wants Aaron Rodgers to be, screaming. Definitely. Now you're throwing math out the window. Who cares?
Energy.
Hey, so I'm going to offer you an alternative. Because the best thing you can have if you're on TV and you're a sports analyst, you want something named after you. So I have decided, it's not happening for me yet, I've decided to make my own quarterback proprietary stat. It's called the Wild Stat. Here's how you do it. It's easy to do at home. You can plug it into your computer. First one is the wow factor, like narrative-wise. The I is for insane plays. The L is for long throws. Minus D, dumb plays. Efficiency and success, you got to win. And once I put that all into the computer with Dusty, Russell Wilson came out. You want to talk about people who are overlooked? Russ had a great game against a great defense, and no one's talking about it. 78% completion percentage, 254 yards, 4 touchdowns, and the first recipient of the Wild's proprietary statistic. Congratulations, Russ. Unfortunately, instead of an award, you actually owe me money because it's proprietary and your name is attached to it, so I will be invoicing you.
Is there any reason for any Packers fans to think anything differently or worry about anything? You have the utmost confidence in this team, this roster, and yourself still, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's why I'm back. You know, I love this, love the team, feel good about everything that we've done in the off season, training camp. You know, I felt like, you know, it was solid. We had good practices. I know that, you know, a game like that allows all these speculation to come into play. Should we have played in the preseason? You know, should we have done this? Should we have done that? And we got to deal with it because we just got our asses whooped. That's fine, you know, but, you know, what's going to happen down the line is going to happen, and we know how this thing goes. It's a cycle, and right now we're taking on the chin, which we should, and pretty soon it'll be flipped. So,
hell yeah.
But me personally, I'm doing great. You know, I'm confident and happy and excited and love these guys. Competitor, like I said, frustrated about my performance and our performance, but this game is about how you respond to negativity, usually more than how you're hailed for your successes.
The old high camera mount in Aaron Rodgers' house. So, Nick, you heard what Aaron Rodgers had to say. What did you make of how he looked back on the game?
Yeah, listen, his comments are fine. He didn't say anything incendiary. He didn't say anything particularly insightful. Those are, you know, what's the word? Pablum, I think is what Broussard would call it. Just regular, you know, expected comments in his weekly hit with McAfee. But it is now going to be fully pressurized on Rodgers about how he plays and how the team responds. Not so much Monday, but in the weeks that follow. Listen, they're going to beat the Lions because if there's one thing we know about the Packers and the Lions is they play twice a year and Green Bay whoops them every single time. So we know they will. That is their early season bye. We know they'll win that game. But then after that, they have two teams that are feeling great right now. Two teams whose defenses are feeling great right now, with the exception maybe a couple minutes at the end of week 1 in San Francisco and Pittsburgh. And Rodgers' trump card all offseason and in every media availability he had, Broussard, was he always threw in there, or very often threw in there, yeah, and I mean, you know, they draft my replacement, and, you know, I went out and I won league MVP, and so I thought maybe I'd get a contract extension. And so, you know, after the year we had where, you know, I thought I played really well, thought it was one of the better years of my career, I thought I'd get, you know, a contract extension. But that doesn't play when you were the worst quarterback in the league this week. And so he now has an added level of pressure on himself that if they fall to the Niners, who knocked him out of the NFC Championship game a couple years ago, or if they fall to the Steelers, or God forbid if they lose both of those games and they're 1-3, the noise is going to become deafening. And so I do think his comments were totally fine, Broussard, but I think he now has an extra level of pressure that he and the team must play excellent over the rest of September in order to really quiet it and say, hey, you know who else lost to the Saints 38-3 last year? Tampa Bay. How'd that